Hello and welcome to Supercharged episode 200.
Woo!
I'm Adam Dodges.
And I'm Tommy Hutton.
And guess who's back with us today? It's Whitson Gordon from everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yes, everywhere. Everywhere.com. That's where I write now.
Yeah, and New York Times. IGN was on that list. Oh my god, I forgot the other two.
Popular Science?
Popular Science. I don't know why I forgot Popular Science.
And PC Mag.
And PC Magazine.
What about Unpopular Science?
I would love to write for Unpopular Science. That's my favorite science.
Why are you hanging out with the cool science kids? What about the ignoble people, you know?
Yeah. It's oh, now I sound like an electronic song. Anyway, Whitson, what's new? You're everywhere now.
Oh, everything is new. Yeah, I'm full-time freelance now, so I'm kind of writing a little bit everywhere. I'm writing for the New York Times, Popular Science, PC Mag, IGN. I did a little bit of stuff for Engadget. I'm working with the folks over at Precision Nutrition on some of their new software. So yeah, I'm doing a little bit of everything, and it's super fun.
Yeah, it seems like you've got quite a nice variety of things.
I may have overextended myself already.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that. I know. How do you manage your time? How do you keep at the freelance life?
It's only my third month of freelancing, and it's only really my second full-time month of freelancing. So I don't yet. I'm just kind of winging it because you can always. That's one of the hardest things to battle as a freelancer for me so far. Is that feeling that I can just work more. If I work more, I'll just make more money. And it's like I'm working 8-hour days, but I'm like, but I could still work more, right?
Yeah.
And you kind of have to find where that line is, and the only way to find the line is to keep adding more until you've overextended yourself, and then scale back slightly.
And it is not a straight line. I don't know if you've noticed that yet, but I'm
not quite there yet. I don't have enough data.
Sometimes the client likes to punch the line up into the air a little bit, and then all of a sudden you're like, that 4 hours that I thought I was going to have for flex time just got eaten up by this one thing that really didn't matter but had to matter because it mattered to the client, when it was really just something they could have just waited a couple of days on and it would have resolved exactly the same way. But, yeah,
we'll see how it goes. But so far, I'm just living inside Google Sheets, tracking every article I do and what I'm invoicing, and it's become quite a thing.
Yeah,
but I'm pretty organized, so
yeah, no, you are.
Not be having a problem.
I have a feeling when it comes down to it, you'll be better than both of us at it. Because you actually do the responsible stuff. I usually know what to do, but then think, but it's that I need to do more work situation, and I guess
you work too much.
I do, and I'm trying to get that down. I actually have been kind of successful at that by reprioritizing stuff, but it means something has to get left out, and I'm neglecting in some cases people, which they don't like that. I'm finding, not that I expected them to, but. Right now, it's mostly, I made a list of the people that I say something to repeatedly and they don't listen to it, and and it ends up wasting a lot of time because I have to keep explaining the same thing over and over and over again.
You're saying work people?
No, I mean, it depends. If it's a job where I think that's going to happen, I fortunately can make that decision now. I'm not, struggling as much as I was after the hack that I have to say yes to everything, which I have to remind myself of these days. But... no, I mean people in my life who are I want to hang out, and then they don't show up, or people who are you never call me, but then they never pick up when I call, and then when they call,
you mean that time I emailed you at the wrong email address and wondered why you didn't show up?
No, that was funny. You're not that type of person. I mean, they're 4 people that I can think of right now that are in that boat, and it's not that I'm ignoring them forever. It's just I need to figure out a healthier, more practical way of communicating with them.
No, I'm not great at that either.
It's hard when it comes down to people.
I'm stuck with most of my time is taken up by one person who is a 1-year-old baby.
Yeah, yeah, and you always know where that baby's going to be, so that's
true. He can't go far.
The baby has to be on your schedule too, so it's
No, we're on his schedule.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you have some control over. You at least get to make the rules. Whether the baby will follow the rules is another story.
Yes, that's true.
But this is usually human problems are easier for me, at least in terms of understanding them. But I haven't quite figured out what do you do when someone is not getting the message over and over and over again, and you don't have the ability to cut them out or want
kick them in the shins.
I think that's good.
Yeah, and I'm not.
Or funny bone. Hit him in the funny bone.
Violence is the answer today.
Works every time.
Yeah, I don't know because I don't want to cut anyone out in general, but in some cases it's not an option. It's like just not
right.
You can't whether or not you want to. So I haven't figured that one out yet, but that's the latest problem. But it's made freelancing much easier, not just deprioritizing that stuff. Because I would waste like an hour a day on that. And that adds up to a lot. And when I say an hour a day, I'm talking about an average because sometimes it will eat up like half a day.
Yeah.
It's allowed me to do some other things. I finally built another computer.
Ooh,
nice.
What for?
So I dropped. I don't know if I told you this, but the iMac that we're using right now to podcast, I sort of dropped when I was carrying up the stairs. That's a simplified version of that story. Anyway, and so it cracked the screen, and it kind of is a little. It works fine. It's just like 5%.
It works fine for podcasting,
weird.
but not for like actual work.
Yeah, well, you can't use it as you can't use the screen anymore, and so it doesn't really work in a desk situation. So I just put it face down on the mixing rack and plugged everything into the port. So it actually it works really well because it kind of just feels like the top.
Nice. Because it's like rack. Thin too, right? That would fit in a rack pretty nicely.
Yeah, I mean it's too big for the rack, but the 21-inch would actually probably fit right in the empty space. Because I have a rack, but it only has 2 things in it, so it's.
I'm actually building a server rack in a couple weeks. I'm pretty excited about it.
Oh, you're talking about a server rack. I was thinking about an audio rack. But yeah, I guess in both cases
they're similar. Aren't they the same width, like 19 inches?
Probably. I wouldn't be surprised if they're kind of the same thing because it's the same concept.
I think they have like kind of probably have like compatible rails, but the racks themselves are built slightly differently.
Yeah, because the studio racks are at an angle.
So, okay.
So I think that's probably the difference, and I think they're at an angle maybe because you plug stuff into them, or it's easier to get at all the knobs. Whereas on a server, it's not really that important.
Right.
But I think I wouldn't be surprised if it's kind of the same deal because I feel like I've seen someone probably back in our Lifehacker days using the using a server rack or an audio rack for a server rack for audio and server stuff because it's useful. And there are audio racks that do have audio servers on them, so it would make sense. Anyway,
and it's about whatever you can find cheaply, right? Because that stuff's expensive.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that I got it wasn't that much. I think it was like $60.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a lot for a box that you screw something into, but in terms of like if you're thinking of it like, oh, it's a computer case, even though it's not because you're not
because you put the computer case in it.
Yeah,
it's a computer case.
Yeah, it's a multi-computer case, and it's but if you think about it like that, it's computer cases are that much or more usually, unless you're getting a really cheap one. Although I mean I've had like I think I've built with a $40 case before and it was good. But anyway, I didn't have.
I remember I built it with you. It's the one we used in the Lifehacker Media Center guide, and it's extremely small and hard to build in, but it can be done.
Oh yeah, oh right, I forgot about that. Yeah, that one was really cheap.
It was challenging.
Yeah,
it would have been useful to have a 4-year-old to help stick tiny hands in there.
Yeah, this build was actually pretty challenging. For a number of reasons, but it's actually part of what I want to talk about in our episode today. So I'm gonna save that conversation for later. It's part of my tip. I learned something new about Hackintoshing. So we'll save that story. But today, as some of you may remember or notice because you downloaded this episode, it's the 200th episode, and we did. I like to say that we planned this really well. And this was 100% on purpose, but it all worked out in the sense that we're kind of doing like an old school Lifehacker episode. We're going to talk about the tools, tips, software, etc. that we're currently using that we're looking forward to today. This mainly happened because Whitson and I had a long conversation about everything about a month ago, and I found out that he's using all this new stuff that I was like, oh, I would love to have known about this. And I just realized how out of the loop I've been because it's not the...
I'm not even sure what you're referring to.
Well, the one that I keep thinking about... Well, I mean, you gave me all those links that I kept putting in my notes. But OfferUp, that was what it's called. That was one of the things on there. But I actually have it in a note somewhere. So I'll go find that because then I can tell you. or I can't find it, and so I won't. I thought I just named it like Stuff Wits and Likes, but apparently didn't.
I have the text message that I sent you with all the stuff on it. I'll look at it.
Oh yeah, okay. So there's that too. I wonder where I put all those notes. Anyway, that's what we're doing today. So maybe I'll find that at some point. But
the other one was the Super Mario World co-op ROM hack.
Oh yeah, that I have.
Not exactly related to productivity, but definitely worth talking about.
Well, let's just get that out of the way first. Tell everyone about that, because that's awesome, and I forgot to look it up.
It has nothing to do with anything, but I discovered this a while ago. I don't remember how I discovered this, but it's Super Mario World, one of the greatest video games of all time for the Super Nintendo. That's the one with Yoshi and the cape, for those who aren't already obsessed with it and haven't played through it 50 times like me and Duchess. And someone hacked the ROM to make it co-op Mario and Luigi on the same screen at the same time. Kind of like the newer Mario games, as opposed to alternating. Mario plays, then he dies, then Luigi plays, then he dies. It's way more fun when you're playing in tandem.
Yeah.
And it is buggy as all get out, which just makes it more fun. Because it's like, what? You disappeared. Like, what? How did I not get down that pipe? Like, oh, I'm stuck on the side. It's so freaking fun, though. You just have to, like, download this hack file and then use this program to apply it to your ROM file. And then you can play it. And it's cool. Like, there will be so many surprises. Like, when one of you dies, like, the bubble will come in. Like, on this, new Super Mario Brothers Wii and stuff. Like, they thought through a lot of stuff, but it's still super buggy. But it's a blast. You should definitely look it up and play it. It's the Super Mario World co-op ROM hack.
Yeah, if anyone wants to get high and play it, record a video and send that to us, because I think that would be interesting to watch.
There's a great ROM that I saw for Mario 64 that does this crazy thing where it replaces textures randomly, and it'll completely randomize the entire game, which makes it almost impossible to play.
What?
But so it does that, does it, you might have ice on one tile and then the ground on the other? Okay, so
and it makes it insane. It messes with everything.
It seems like you would just get stuck a lot and not be able to make it to the end of the level because you would just hit a wall or something.
That's the challenge, is trying to beat the game with it on random.
If it were a more intelligent random, I'd be more into that, I think.
Yeah, it's complete. It often breaks, it shatters, but that's the challenge, is trying to beat the game.
Yeah, I would like a challenge that operated in a way that made a little more sense.
Not just
Super Mario Maker.
Yeah,
I love that.
Those seem more than challenging enough. I just got it for 3DS, and I've been like kind of playing through just some of the basic levels, and it's so nice to have more classic Mario levels, since I've already played all those games like a billion times.
I really want them to do it for Switch, because I think that made the Wii U was such a brilliant usage of the Wii U
Switch. If they had it, but I got a 3DS because I wanted to play Mario Maker.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like, it's great for a touchscreen, and it was right for the Wii U. It still works on the Switch, and it's a little bit harder without a second screen, I think.
Yeah. So
that might be the challenge for them, but they have to figure that out. Because it's too good to pass up on the Switch, and they could do a new version of it where you can actually make the thing that bothers me is that you can't make a game where coins are irrelevant, like.
Coins and lives are relevant.
Yeah, like it should be. It needs to be a situation where it's not just about beating the level, but you could create a series of levels so that
like a challenge stage, or like
because you put together your worlds or whatever, but nothing transfers between them. So anything there shouldn't be items you can collect in the game that are just there for decoration. It should be something that is purposeful.
Now, if Nintendo cared about their fans, and it's clear that they often don't. It would be smart for them to do a PC version of this that you could upload and play on the Switch.
A PC?
It would
like a PC/Mac, yeah, exactly. But do a version that you can basically build either online or an app that you can use, make levels, and then. But those exist outside of Nintendo's IP. People make them now, but doing an officially sponsored one,
they could do it on mobile though.
I was gonna say I could see them doing it on like the iPad or iPad Pro. Now that they have Super Mario Run out there, like I could see them doing an iPad companion app for a Switch game or something.
Yeah, do like a companion app for Mario Maker.
Still wouldn't, but it would be cool if they did.
Could you imagine? That would be amazing. You could do so much more complexity and everything.
Yeah, we never thought they'd make it to the phone unless things got desperate, and I guess they got a little desperate.
But then now the Switch is printing money just like the Wii did.
Yeah, which I think was inevitable. I mean, like, this is how Nintendo always seems to go, and I don't. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why. I mean, maybe it's just the amount of time and resources that they have, and that's that. But they always have an on console and an off console, and I guess the 3DS has been important.
Always, but only for like 4 generations of console, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean,
like the NES, Super NES, and N64 were all, I assume, wildly successful.
GameCube wasn't, 64 or less so, but SNES was huge.
So like starting with GameCube was it kind of hits a tick-tock, but then you only have 4 generations.
Yeah.
And one of the big reasons that Nintendo always messes up their physical media is one of the big issues they always run into. Was the GameCube and the 64 were both really difficult to develop for. So they were often forcing.
You tried developing for the NES.
I mean, so the idea of pushing developers to, if you're going to port a game, it was a pain because you had to port it over in a really complicated way, making use of lower memory and really janky standards. If we can recall the issue of the N64 memory expansion pack.
Yep.
So the idea of Nintendo trying to play well with third-party developers, like with E3, there's supposedly a leaked announcement of all the stuff they're going to bring, but even with the Switch, they're clearly trying to play well with third-party developers.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically an Android tablet.
Yeah. So the idea of making it easy to develop for and like port stuff over so they can get, same day and date release of major titles is kind of big. I think they're trying to push that, but I think it's a step in the right direction for Nintendo in terms of trying to play well and support their user base. But the idea of even not having a virtual console, they've clearly announced that that's one of my biggest issues with them, that I think Xbox has done so well with, is you buy a game in their ecosystem and it's yours. And with backwards compatibility, it's like part of this larger library, whereas Nintendo's like, oh, you bought this game on the Wii, well, fuck you, you have to buy it again on Wii U. And it doesn't even matter because we're not going to let you play those games on Switch. You've got to buy our Netflix-like monthly subscription service to play these games on demand.
Yeah. And go ahead.
I was just going to say, we're talking about the 64 and the GameCube. There's a fascinating article about the making of GoldenEye and all the troubles they went through with that because the production system they were using was way more powerful than the N64 ended up being, and they had all these challenges to try and rush to shrink the game basically and make it run in this less powerful hardware. I'll actually send it to you and we can put it in the show notes.
Yeah, no, I'd love to.
Very interesting.
I'm obsessed with reading about Rare because Rare is such an interesting company in terms of its journey from doing basically second party Nintendo work and then becoming a Microsoft company. And those poor developers being snagged over to stop developing games and doing more of the avatars for Xbox.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's inevitable we'll get on a game conversation here in the beginning, I think.
By the way, I'll never forget my friends and I laughing at the cutscenes for Perfect Dark. It's very.
Is this were we talking about this last week?
Oh my god, there is that game made me laugh so hard in so many ways. But one of my favorites is that there's clearly an animation that they built that was characters beating their blocky fists against something. There's 5 instances of it throughout the game where characters get frustrated and they clearly were proud of that animation sequence where they're damn it, and doing the fist against a pole or very emphatic no. But my favorite one is when a character threatens the president. There's a level where you have to go on Air Force One, and my friends and I would play that over and over and over again, and I quote those lines again. Where you walk up to the president and he's basically and who are you, young lady? Basically you've hijacked the Air Force One, and the president's like, who are you? Because there's no security around him. And
naturally. Well,
she's like, Mr. President, someone's trying to blackmail you. And he's like, you can't make accusations like that without evidence. I assume that you have some. And then if you don't, it's mission failed. And he calls for security and you lose. But I don't know why that game was so amusing to me, but yeah.
Well, it sounds pretty ridiculous.
Yeah. So yeah, productivity.
Yeah, well actually we should talk a little bit about net neutrality for a moment. And also, just before I forget about this again, because I just remembered, we interviewed some developers I don't remember, this must have been last year, the developers of StarCat.
Yes, it just came out.
And it just came out. So I'm going to see if we can get them back on next week to talk about that whole process like we did with Ben and A Case of Distrust. But it is out. It's out on Steam. You can go get it. I don't remember how much it is because we got a free copy.
I think it's $10. It's $10. I think it's on sale, 30% off.
Yeah, I'd imagine it's very reasonable. So, we'll give one away next week.
And I want people to play it because they're a smaller developer, and I think their biggest challenge is getting the press. And this is something I learned from going through the Museum of Selfies. Is getting press is really, really hard. And Whitson, I think
yes,
you can...
it is so much harder than it used to be, too.
Yeah, and I think, Whitson, you can attest to this, is that just emailing a reporter cold is going to get you, 99% 99 times out of 100, no response whatsoever. Mm-hmm. You have to have a PR company or someone go through, and having the benefit of paying a PR company a lot of money for the museum, like, we got a lot of press. You have to have a good product, first of all, but when you see how regimented and organized a good PR company can be to help get you exposure, mm-hmm. and then you look at most games on Steam, and granted, most games on Steam are complete shovelware crap, but this is an incredibly polished game with really strong art. And you're looking at that, and I was looking at it, and like, they need more publicity. And I feel because they don't have a PR company pushing them. And so I want to give them whatever support we can. Because, you know, you look at really shitty games that have a PR company, and they get some traction, even though they're shitty. Mm-hmm. All because they have the dollars to spend on a PR company.
Whitson, what do you think about getting people to, or going out to get press for stuff? Because I think you're more... I mean, obviously, you're more in the other side of it than I am, and Tommy, you haven't been. But I mean, like, when writing for Lifehacker, I was always really uncomfortable with like the way some people would approach, and now I'm like super uncomfortable being on the other side of it.
Being on both sides is terrible. There's no doubt about it. Because I interned at a PR company before I started working for Lifehacker. And it sucked. There's just like no way for this not to suck. And as a reporter, I ignore most PR pitches I get. Mm-hmm. I just don't have the time to like go and respond to every single one. It's just like on a very rare occasion something is actually really interesting, I go for it. But like half the time, you know, people who are emailing me about stuff, it's not even relevant to anything I write about. Mm-hmm. It's like, here's a new game. I don't write about games. This hip hop artist has a new mixtape. That's not even close to, what are you talking about? Or a lot of the stuff I get is just like the same as stuff that's already out there, but bigger. It's like, oh, we made a to-do list app. It's the same as every other to-do list app. And it's like, yeah, I'm not going to write about that.
What draws your interest?
I mean, the best way to get noticed is to make something that's good. And honestly, the best way to get press is to get organic attention through something like Product Hunt or Reddit or whatever. Because
Yeah.
Not a PR email in their inbox. Yeah, one of the 100 or whatever.
Yeah, how many do you get? Like, how do you manage? Do you even bother looking at them, or what catches your interest if you do get like a bunch of cold emails?
I get a lot less now than I used to, thankfully. You know, I don't get nearly as many as I. Lifehacker was definitely.
And Adam, you got it too. So yeah, what stood out? Did you actually look at them, or would you give them like 5 seconds and erase them, or what would stick out for you?
I would.
Okay.
I would I would click on everything, and if it was really, really long, I would look to see if the subject matter was something that I thought would be relevant, and if it wasn't, I would painfully press the delete key, which would archive it, not delete it. But I
delete them.
I don't delete anything. Because
you're like Thanos. You're like, get out of here. You're
I probably...
Gone.
I still would archive it even now, just because like you might find out a week later, oh shoot, I should have checked that out or something. Because everybody makes mistakes, dog lover. Which knows what I'm talking about. Yeah. They haven't been able to reference that in a while. So there's so I like to keep things around because of that. I think probably the right thing, at least for me to do, would be to take everything and have an archive or a deletion rule that after 30 days, if it gets archived and it falls into a certain category, like I could just add a tag to it, like this is 30 days or 30 days of life tag, and then it gets deleted if it has that tag on it. That would probably be what I should do. But you can also keep everything now. The only problem with doing that for me is not so much that it's is that the email exists. It's that it can be hard to find stuff sometimes.
Yeah, searching gets tougher the more stuff you have, and you do eventually get closer to running out of space in Gmail.
I don't know how close I am, and now I kind of want to look. Didn't it used to say at the bottom somewhere? Oh yeah, here it is. Yeah. Okay, I have 130 gigabytes in use. Oh wow. Okay. Oh.
total.
No, I have 130 gig. Oh, I just said, I looked at the end of it and it said 130 gigabytes used. It's 20.26 gigabytes, 21% of 130. Yeah, I thought it was somewhere under 30. I don't know when I got all that extra space, but yeah. Okay, so anyway, StarCats is out. We talked about press. Net neutrality. Net neutrality has had a rough ride lately. I mean, I guess when hasn't it? But especially lately. Thank you, Ajit Pai, or fuck you, Ajit Pai, as we prefer to say. And I guess the Senate agrees somewhat because they proposed.
Well, there's a limited power basically where any kind of government action that's considered regulatory requires them to either they can either let it pass, or like Gandalf, they can say you shall not pass. It requires both the Senate and the House to go through it to pull it off. The Senate did pass it, but it is unlikely to go through the House.
Yeah.
And this is what happened, actually. What's funny is, in a similar move, this happened when there was an issue about cable companies sharing information and user data. Cable and internet companies basically having free reign with the user data and being able to sell it. And that's the same process as what Congress used to stop that from happening after the FCC basically said, go right ahead. And it was because of people getting pissed off because internet sites were like, this is stupid. And they wrote to their people, and writing to your people makes them scared of losing their elections. And so that's why that worked. So the hope is that people can harass their representatives, because net neutrality is surprisingly popular, as it should be. Yeah. And the hope is that you can pressure your representatives to actually support this as opposed to, not.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see. Who's optimistic?
Yeah. The good news is that this is hopefully going to be an election issue, which is insane to imagine that internet regulation will actually be an issue. But the hope is that during the primaries, this is going to keep pushing, because right now is primary season, that this is going to be an issue that people talk about on the campaign trail and during the election and the midterms in November.
What's gonna happen though? I mean, because net neutrality is supposed to end. Is that at least getting put on hold now?
No, it's supposed to end in June.
So yeah.
So this vote would theoretically happen prior to that, and even if net neutrality ended in June, and the only reason Ajit Pai has to push it is because it does require a lot of regulatory red tape.
The vote for in the House, you mean?
Yeah. So the vote in the House would likely happen before it goes into effect.
Yeah, but if it's going to be an election issue with people, and like that's not going to come up in time.
It wouldn't come up in time, but they could roll it back, or they could fight against it. There could be a bill introduced because a bill could actually be introduced that does pass this as the law of the land. Mm-hmm. It's not just the FCC. The FCC has the ability to regulate right now, but there could be a bill that's passed that basically codifies net neutrality. So the idea is that if this becomes an election issue, this could come up if the Democrats take over, and flip the House and Senate. That could be a possibility.
Yeah, and there's definitely something to be said for going against the majority in some cases. But I'm really curious what Ajit Pai. I mean, I don't think that guy really thinks he's doing the right thing for the people. Or he's not. He's obviously not doing what the people want, because the comments for net neutrality have been overwhelmingly. And I mean, if you discount the possibility that they were a little bit, it's really hard to say that. Oh yeah, it was 99% positive, because a lot of them were repeat comments, and then there were also instances on the other side where there were fake comments against net neutrality. So I don't know where the number shakes out, but it is very high in favor of net neutrality.
Absolutely.
Wait, you think he believes it?
Absolutely. Everyone in politics, including those of us not in politics, delude ourselves into thinking the thing that we want is the thing that's best for everybody. And
I think he might. It's possible he thinks it's best for everybody, but I can't see how he could argue it's what people want, because that's very clearly not the case.
He's absolutely deluded himself thinking that it's what everybody wants. It's what all politicians do.
Well, I think I think it's at the level of, they might think it's unpopular, but they'll do it because they think it's best for the nation or best for themselves. I mean, if they think the bottom line is that he's not elected, he's appointed. So he doesn't care the same level as other politicians. There's different levels. If you're elected, the only thing that's going to scare you is when your constituents actually will come out against you. You don't want to lose your position. Mm-hmm. He doesn't give a shit. He's appointed. He can't get removed unless Trump leaves.
Yeah.
And even then, if Pence will keep him in place. So he's only threatened if the administration changes. So he's in a safe spot. So he doesn't really give a shit. All he cares about is doing his agenda.
Yeah, and the thing is, he's basically done his agenda, so getting removed at this point doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and he's not, I mean, he's doing what Trump wants and what the administration wants, so he has no threat of going away. Whereas people that are elected in elected positions, they only do anything when they're afraid of people coming out against them.
He's such a troll, though.
He really is. Like, he's the worst kind of troll. He's the guy who, imagine, pops a collar and gets on a meme, a year after it becomes popular and then kills it. And because here's the thing, is there's a common idea that people in conservative positions are not funny.
Or a decade after it becomes popular.
Yeah.
If I'm just thinking back to that video that he made. I hate that you made me watch that.
I know, I'm sorry. Adam's referring to the video where he basically used a bunch of memes with his staff. And
fidget spinners.
Yeah, they basically referenced the Harlem Shake and things that were were not funny initially and were even less funny in his hands. Mm-hmm. The thing about conservative humor, or that's often considered an oxymoron, is that people say, well, conservatives aren't funny. And that is pretty much
what do
true.
You think, Whitson? Whitson's a conservative.
I'm not that.
I'm just having fun.
I'm like, well, I'm still standing the same place I was before. Now.
Not.
Yeah, exactly. The tide has shifted away from you. I think the challenge is that, like, back when Fox News was trying to do counter-programming to The Daily Show, they had a thing called the half-hour news hour, which, I don't know if you watched it. It is.
Gosh, I remember that. I remember seeing it on YouTube.
It is like watching an abortion. It is horrible. It is an abomination.
It's quite like that.
Well, it's like watching comedy get aborted. It is horrible. And it is painfully unfunny. And the challenge is, I'm not saying that liberal politics are the only point of view. No, it's the idea that you have to actually be funny. And there are points you can make from a conservative point of view that are actually satirical and funny. The problem is they're not.
When I do satire, I feel like I'm lampooning liberals more than conservatives.
They're easy to make fun of. It's easy to make fun of any political position from the right angle.
Look at Portlandia.
Yeah.
Or Stephen Colbert,
because both sides have such extremes that they have reached comedic levels, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is anything is able to, That's exactly, and that's the problem, is that you run into the fact that most conservatives who write in that point of view, when you write from a defensive point of view, you're not funny.
Yeah.
You cannot write comedy from a defensive point of view.
Yeah, and like Colbert was, I think, a really good example. I mean, like, obviously he's liberal, but he is very much a devout Christian and
very much so
says that and takes pride in it publicly in his show.
Yeah, died in the woke Catholic.
There's that to draw in the conservative side, but also the way he did satire, which you can like or not like, led everyone to think, oh, the joke's about someone else. So,
well, yeah, the conservatives can point and say, well, he's with us, he's making fun of the liberal. And I think that's part of the brilliance is what Colbert did, but on top of it...
It's also a little dangerous, too. It's debatable on whether or not it was a positive thing to not take us... Because if you're satirizing something, the point might... Like, it's okay for people to believe that it's real with satire, but it shouldn't be... The point should still happen. Like, you should still have... If people are believing it's real, it should expose the problem with believing that it's real. And if people are laughing at it and understand that it's satire, then they should be getting the point and laughing for the right reasons. I think, in terms of how satire is supposed to work, but I still really like Stephen Colbert, so...
I think that's part of the reason why Veep is so brilliant, is that the big point they try to make with the show is that you're not sure which political party anyone in the show belongs to. The idea is that it's politically agnostic, in that where Selena Myers and these characters are... It satirizes the entire political system without picking particular issues and aligning by saying we're making fun of the left or right. It's making fun of the whole process. And so, yeah, I think like comedians like Dennis Miller and PJ O'Rourke, who are known for being on the right, I think they have some really funny stuff. But then Dennis Miller lately has just gone off the deep end and is not... I mean, I know he tends to come from a point of view that's more... I don't want to say elitist, but definitely he likes dropping very obscure references in his humor. But I used to find Dennis Miller really funny. And then he just kind of took a nosedive off into crazy land. And
a lot of people have, and like look at Bill Maher, who I never really liked that much, but I appreciated the show's dynamic. I guess you could say that you could see different sides of it, but I can't watch him anymore. He's insane.
I think there's some views he's taken that I disagree with, but I do appreciate his panel, and I like some of the points. But when he brought on like a known anti-vaxxer and gave him a spotlight, that drove me nuts. But at the same time, he's not, I think, as extreme as Dennis Miller. I think he's still clinging to some rationality, and there's still some points he makes that I agree with. But
yeah, but a lot of them are also insane. I mean, I haven't seen him lately, but
I watch him on a weekly basis, and I think I
didn't mean to bring this. I didn't mean to bring up a more of a political topic because we should
say this got political.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like
palms are sweaty.
Yeah.
These days you can't avoid it.
Yeah,
because it's in everything. Unfortunately,
but the one thing is, I would love if there were. And the other thing I hate too is that political shows that offer that make it like Crossfire. The idea that it's all about just talking heads back and forth, left and right.
Yeah.
The newest thing I heard proposed is getting Anthony Scaramucci a show with Avenatti, who I am pronouncing that name probably wrong, but Stormy Daniels' lawyer, who's gone and done, and he's obviously on the left. Scaramucci's on the right.
I'm not sure Scaramucci is on the right.
Well, he's insane, but he's at least he's compelling.
I mean, honestly, that would probably be an entertaining show. I don't think that should be where we go in the direction of news. And
I know it's not. That's obviously not news, but the idea of putting the two of them together. That's like The Odd Couple. Yeah. It's like just watching two people that are both like fans of watching and hearing themselves.
Well, it's like what was that show? What was that reality show with Big Ange?
Who?
Oh God,
Big Ange.
Mob Wives.
Mob Wives. Yeah.
I'm embarrassed that I know that.
So I should know it because my grandmother loved it, and Big Ange legitimately is hilarious to watch. However, I would not ever sit through an entire episode.
Isn't
of that
she
show.
dead?
Maybe, I don't know. I don't know who's dead anymore. I can't keep track of it.
I've never even heard of this person.
Be happy.
And she's already dead?
Be happy.
Well, just type in Big Ange in Google image search. Ange, Ange.
You'll be disturbed.
Yeah, and you'll see the. It's one of the. I bring her up because she's a really good example of someone who's fun to watch in a clip. And I feel like the show Scaramucci and
I see.
or
okay.
whatever his name is, that like I don't think I'd want to watch the show, but I'd enjoy the show being there so that I could get a clip once in a while and laugh at it. Although I think in general it shouldn't happen. I don't like that. That's even. So people are even talking about something like that, but I would watch a clip if I'm being honest.
I think it goes to the nature of how people consume entertainment now, and even politics is part of it, which is the idea of entertainment versus fact, and often the blurring of those two lines.
Yeah. All right, let's get on to the meat. We're gonna do this before we get too far into the episode.
So that was the garnish. That was the parsley and the vegetable medley.
That
was like the garbage that you have to.
Yeah, we were clearing out all the crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just felt it would be irresponsible to not mention the net neutrality thing.
No, you're right.
Good news we've had in a while.
Fair.
But with the way we go on tangents, I don't even know.
Anywhere once it gets to the house.
I know you're pretty. McConnell's made it very clear that
everyone's like very celebratory, and I'm like, this is nothing.
It's a hollow gesture. I appreciate it nonetheless, but it's a hollow.
Yeah,
gesture.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm scared, and I hope that something better happens. But there are worse things to be afraid of these days, and we're not going to get into those. I just when the reaction I had to the net neutrality vote was. Even before I understood what it was and thought it could actually be a good thing, or have a higher possibility than it does of being a good thing. Oh man,
the garbage truck is here, and I forgot to take my can.
You're part of the problem, Whitson.
Break? Or is it too late?
You're part of the problem, Whitson. Not recycling your cans.
It's always too late for me.
It's too late for all of us.
Pretty much.
Now, I mean, my reaction to net neutrality was like, don't we have more important things to worry about now? And that was my big issue, and now it's just like,
just wait till North Korea.
I'm just afraid.
There's almost always more important things to worry about than the thing.
Yeah, but to Trump's credit, he's shown us what
gay marriage. Aren't we at war or something like that?
Yeah,
gay marriage is ruining the country.
Yeah.
Think of the children. Why isn't anyone thinking of the children?
Well, they thought of them, and they're like, well, whatever. I need a sandwich. I'm not gonna.
I do need a sandwich.
Yeah, just I think people people just want to be mad about it. I mean, people are freaking out about that, and I do not want to talk about this. I'm just going to say that right now.
Okay.
About the Yanny Laurel sound, people are.
Can that just go away?
Yeah.
I refuse to talk about it.
It says, I can tell you what it says black or blue. That's what it says, right? Or golden.
You're referring to the dress.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, that there are people who are. I saw a comment on Richard's Facebook, because I don't do that so much these days. That someone who was like if you heard one of the names, I don't remember which, then you are then you can just get off of my friend feed. I don't want to be friends with you anymore. And I don't know if it was a joke or not. I'm not sure anymore. Some of the stuff that I've seen on his Facebook feed that I was sure was a joke was not several times, and so I just don't even know. But I hope it's a joke. But apparently there's been a lot of anger around that, and it's just people just
anger.
They're angry that people aren't in their camp. It's like, obviously this, and it's like, listen, there are a lot of things that can change the way you hear sound, and now I'm talking about it, and I'm not going to. Okay, so
but I think you realize you hit peak meme when the Air Force makes a comment that's trying to be funny. Yeah, the Air Force Twitter made a comment about like how their drones can hear a certain thing, and it's like, ugh.
Yeah, this goes into a topic I want to cover next week or the week after, about this new world we live in. But
I really want to do a topic on, just thinking about it, is when social media goes wrong. One of my
we kind of have.
One of my favorites, though, was American Airlines tweeted out a woman sticking a plane in her vagina.
What?
Yeah, basically, someone clearly... It's clear that people... Well, it reveals two things. One...
I think I remember hearing about
that. A model plane, I'm assuming.
Yeah, a model plane. Yeah, not a...
But where did they
not a real one.
Where did they get it? Like, was she on the plane and they happened to have like, how does American Airlines even have this?
So, what they likely piecing it together is that obviously people... And this is shocking, is that apparently someone either found an image online or got so aroused by American Airlines, they stuck a model plane in their vagina like a dildo, and then tweeted at American Airlines privately. That person clearly thought it was funny, and it was either meaning to share it with someone or did something with it, and ended up accidentally retweeting it to all the followers of American Airlines.
Do they have like an auto retweet thing or something?
I don't think it's auto, but I think someone clearly got confused or was trying to multitask or did something wrong.
And then later got fired, I'm sure.
It's amazing. And it just shows that, first of all, who's tweeting pornographic images at brands?
We also need to, that's probably a lot more people than we know about. But also, I don't think people should be fired for that. Like that, I think people get fired for a lot of these dumb public mistakes that are really not that big of a deal, and we make them into a big deal, and society just needs a scapegoat. But here we are on a tangent again.
I just want to say, didn't Dashes tweet pornographic images at like Coinbase or something?
Yeah, but that was on purpose, and it was a and they weren't pornographic. They were.
Playing was on purpose too, Dashes.
Yeah, but they didn't retweet.
Yeah, was that you?
To me.
The retweet was accident.
Yeah, and the thing is, I'm not saying a damn thing about people doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
But I wouldn't want to put a plane in my vagina that I don't have. But if I did, my urethra, my butthole, I don't know. I wouldn't want to do that privately, for one, but I certainly wouldn't want to put that. I don't like putting pictures of myself clothed online. So it's I'm not against it. I just don't. It's not something that I want to do. So I can never see myself doing something like that. But I tweeted butts at Coinbase for sure. I was trying to find a fun, mildly inappropriate way. There were no porn butts. I'm pretty sure that nothing like crossed the line, because I wanted them to respond. I was just trying to do it in a over the top silly kind of way that could be could be fun. It apparently was not a big
not effective.
Was not effective, and I don't think my Twitter following enjoyed it very much. So I noticed I lost a few people, which is fine. Like, it's Twitter.
It's people who can't handle the truth is that you lost them, cowards.
I was just surprised, I was surprised that no one said anything to me, though. And then they all just dropped off. I was like, I wonder if they're like, oh, I'm still following this guy, and all he tweets is butts. I guess I'll just not do that anymore. It wasn't a lot. It was like maybe 40 people, but it was enough that I noticed it. it was interesting. Anyway, what do we use? How do we work better?
By the way,
How do we get things done?
I would like to clarify that it was U.S. Airways that
no, you're keeping us on the tangent.
That tweeted at the vagina photo.
It's a minor correction. That's okay. I support your correction.
They're all bad.
Oh, okay. So
American Airlines.
So the reason why
reputation is still intact.
The image was originally tweeted to American Airlines, and the caption was, "What the f? One of your planes just crashed into my pussy." Plane spelled wrong with the image, and then that was tweeted at American Airlines, and then U.S. Airways. Yeah, Adam, you can see it. Yeah, WTF? One of your planes just crashed into my pussy. And then U.S. Airways retweeted that apparently. So that's even more compelling. Is that I guess U.S. Airways was trolling.
What article were you just looking at? What blog was that on?
Jezebel.
Yeah.
So
I was like,
great work, Gawker.
That looks like a formerly Gawker blog from here.
Site before.
Yeah.
I was assuming some offshoot of Gizmodo, but
yeah.
Either way, it was definitely on the. I saw the header have that Kinja look.
God bless you, Gawker Media, for documenting the news. Okay, productivity.
Yeah, your way of doing things lives on.
So how do you stay productive when planes are crashing into your vagina? Ooh.
Yeah, for those who don't know, that's the blogging platform behind all the Gawker blogs. I realized that now we both said that, and no one probably. Well, maybe some people know. I don't know. I don't wonder if they.
Depends on how many Supercharged listeners are also previous listeners of the Lifehacker podcast.
There are definitely enough. Hi
guys, I miss you.
Of them. We miss you too. We're glad you're back.
Oh.
Sure you don't.
I just miss the listeners.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I'm here.
We miss all the other listeners who haven't found out about Supercharged yet too. So we found one of you last week. If there are more.
I found one. What of me?
One of the rogue Lifehacker podcast listeners who tweeted at us and was like,
"Oh yeah."
I guess that was like a month ago, but I responded to it last week. So
yes, that just takes.
But
unless it's the butt, and then he'll respond quickly.
No, because I don't know. I just don't know. But that's a fair point. I just I don't get on social media like I used to, and I just don't want to. There's not like I like talking to people, but it's everything else.
It takes a lot of work to make it not suck.
Yeah. So if like
I think I've gotten close though. I just kind of want to start a social network where I get to pick who's on it, and then that way that it just so not I don't even mean that, just so like it's. I have an easy way of communicating with people. The problem is like no one wants to use anything that anything proprietary. Like I can't be like go on Twitter version 4.0. That's not Twitter that I like. You know, people want to just use. You mean app.net?
Yeah, or whatever it is
Google
tomorrow.
Plus?
Yeah, whatever product hunt.
Google Buzz.
Oh, what was the Google? Oh yeah, Google Orchid. Remember that?
Oh God.
Brazil or something?
How about Google Wave?
Portugal?
Or I think it was
or Google Buzz?
It wasn't Finland. Yeah, Google. Yeah, I remember
you got
that.
Buzz and
that
Wave
like,
and
it lasted 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Wave. I still maintain that Wave was awesome.
It was a good idea.
Use it in the correct way.
Yeah, Wave was great once you figured out what you could do with it.
Yes.
And granted, they've like put a lot of those features into Google Apps, so it's nice that that's there. But at that time, could have been what?
It could have been Slack.
Totally. Oh yes, you're right. But now
it would have been better.
And it was
Slack could. Well, Slack does some things better, especially the integration part.
Slack is obviously a much more mature product.
You need to cut Google some Slack guides.
Yeah. But Slack.
Speaking of, I use Slack.
I do too.
That's one of the things I
let's
use.
do our apps. What are the apps we use?
I'm in 3 Slacks. So.
Wow.
But that's the nice thing about Slack is you know pretty much everybody uses it at this point because it's even if you don't have money you can start a little one, and so it's like you can be in like I'm in a Slack for Unsplash because I got a featured photo at one point and they sent me a sticker and I guess I get to go in the Slack now. I don't know, maybe it's public and they just asked me to do it because I got the sticker, but I have no idea. But like I have that. I'm in one for HoloLens developers that I ended up in a while ago. I have one obviously for Airtable, but yeah, I mean, it's like I'm not a big fan of Slack. It mostly because it just fails to notify me half the time when I get a message, which I don't like.
Really?
Yeah,
that's weird.
I told it to send a message to my phone always, and then put it in notification center, and it's been doing better lately. It usually does the right thing, but but the phone messages don't go through half the time, and I have to keep resetting it, and I don't like that. And I like having it on the phone because I turn off notifications on my computer a lot when I'm working, and so the phone, at least, like, I'll have a sound or something, and I'll know that sound means. It's like when something goes into the computer, the text is on there, I read it, I start thinking about it, then I start thinking it's important, and then I gotta go do it. And it takes me out of the zone. So if I hear the noise, I know which noises to ignore and decide aren't important just by virtue of not knowing exactly what they are. But if I hear the Slack beep, then that is...
That's always like the...
Yeah, well, that's mostly like, oh, someone from Airtable wants to get a hold of me, so that like that's the one that I allow to make noise and make sure I pay attention to. I guess it's not a Slack beep; it's more of like a Morse code tapping or something like that. But yeah, anyway, so I guess Tommy, do you use Slack too?
I do. I am on it for a couple. I have 4 of them that I'm on.
Oh, well, you've got the high number. I think I have 2 that I'm. At least I have others. I just didn't bother adding them because I don't care. So I've got 2. Whitson's got 3. Tommy's got 4. Collectively, we have...
Only one of mine is really a work Slack, though.
Well, neither... Oh, no, wait. One of mine is a work Slack. I forgot. But, I guess I'm in 3. Okay, so we're up to 10. Great. Made it to the double digits. Twinkle in our eye. What about... Whitson, what other apps do you use? Because this was...
so right now, it's freelancer.
Okay.
I have a third one that I've been using. I'm going to save it for my tip. Google Docs. I do all my writing in Google Docs. That's how I send stuff to my editors. And Google Sheets is how I track all of the articles that I'm writing.
Until I convert you to Airtable anyway.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm using Trello to track the stuff that I'm still writing.
Yeah.
You could do both in Airtable. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you later. Don't worry about it.
And like we've said at Lifehacker before, it's not always about having the best tool. It's just about having a tool that works and then not constantly wasting time switching tools.
Yeah,
so I'm trying
exactly.
not to waste time switching tools.
Yeah, and that's my problem. That I'm not gonna go into my Airtable thing. But that's my problem is I would switch tools all the time, and I got very frustrated by that, and then I stopped doing it.
But I had to switch away from Evernote because they're...
I know.
What happened? Because I got off of them a while ago just because I don't like it.
They started charging if you use more than like 2 devices or something like that. I don't remember. It was kind of a while ago, so I don't remember.
They just went so downhill from day one.
That I have it right, but basically I switched to OneNote because it's free, and I have like 1 billion devices, so it's fine. It's a little clunkier in some ways, especially on mobile and on the web, but it works well enough. So they limited their free plans. Their free plans is like only so then to use more devices, which I have a computer, a laptop, and a phone, not to mention.
Mm-hmm.
For something that I could just get for free, especially since like I could do it just with Google Docs if I wanted to, or like plain text.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there are plenty of free services out there, and I don't mind paying for it either if it's worthwhile, but it's generally not worthwhile.
No,
it just became not that unique anymore. Like I'll pay for something if it like is integral to the way I work.
Yeah, I find Evernote like screws me up more. It's always, the software is clunky. They make it harder to use with every
It's
update.
not clunky once you've used OneNote, let me tell you.
Yeah, that's kind of
Evernote is lovely.
Microsoft stuff is like Microsoft is just, you know how Apple's like 80% of the stuff up front, 20% of the complicated stuff is where you have to actually look for it. Microsoft is just like 120% of everything is right in the toolbar. That's how I feel about it whenever I'm using it. It's cluttered.
Weirdly, or like don't quite go like work the way you expect them to, and then you're like, wait, where did that go? And it's not like you're doing something wrong, or it's not like the app is complicated. It's just that like things didn't sync.
Mm-hmm.
Different. How do I just make this look normal?
Yeah, I mean, I wish Dropbox would make a notes app. Dropbox Paper and their Showcase thing, I really like those. I don't like that I have to use the web for them because it's sometimes inconvenient to work that way. With Dropbox stuff, especially because it's like files on your computer. It's harder to get to the files through Dropbox.com usually. Sometimes it's actually easier if I'm trying to find something, but a lot of the time when I want to put a Showcase together, I'm like, oh, I don't know if this has finished syncing yet. I don't know exactly where this file is, but I know where it is on my computer, which, you can obviously open it up in Dropbox, but then you open up a new tab and that, I mean, like, they're little things. This is obviously nitpicking, not important stuff. And it's a cool product and I like it, but it's like, I wouldn't mind having an app. I wouldn't mind having like a just basic notes app that syncs with Dropbox. That's Dropbox official, just because they're trying to create this ecosystem. I just think that would be a good thing for them to do.
I'm kind of surprised they have.
Yeah, because it doesn't even. It literally just needs to be a rich text editor that works they could
that you can clip from the web.
Well, the thing is, they take the code from Paper and use Electron, I think, is the framework to make JavaScript native apps for Mac, PC, and Mac Windows, and etc. Make an Electron app for the desktop. Make something that works on the phone the same way, because I'm pretty sure it can do that too. And then and just adapt that code a little bit to read text out of a folder that you specify for those notes. And so it's not going to be Dropbox Paper with all the collaborative stuff necessarily, but it could be this like little basic app, and then maybe they tie them together at some point if that's what people want. But that's like something they could throw together, not have to maintain much. Could borrow from the same code base. It just seems like a no-brainer, and it's easy, but Dropbox makes some odd decisions, I think, sometimes. But they're also like trying to avoid the consumer thing, I think. But then you see someone like Zoho trying to take what Google does and just expand upon it in huge
I always forget
ways.
Zoho exists.
I think most people do too.
They have some good stuff. I don't love it. I used to use their notebook app because it was colorful and fun, but it made it really hard to organize all the notes. And I was using it just to write and just to organize like chapters or whatever. And now I'm using Ulysses to do that. You guys, this got a little long, as it does whenever I have Whitson on the show. We tend to have a lot to talk about. So we ended up talking for a couple of hours, and in, I guess, centennial episode fashion, that as it has gone for Awkward for many years, we're breaking this into two. So there are many more recommendations coming, stuff that we use, interesting discussions of other stuff, but that's going to be for next week. We're going to release the second half of this next week, and I won't tease what's coming after that because it could not happen or something could change by that point. But anyway, the next episode is done and ready to go, and we'll release it the following Thursday, so we can continue this whole thing. But for the time being, thank you for listening, watching, whatever the case may be. Check out the show notes for the links. You might have a few in there if I made a mistake that are for the next week's show, so you get a little preview, perhaps. But yeah, that's Supercharged episode 200. 201 will be the continuation of this one, and then we'll move on to some interesting topics that I hope we will be able to do in the next couple of weeks. So see you later. Thanks for listening to this episode of Supercharged. If you'd like to send in a comment or a question, you can do so on awkward.email. You just go on your web browser to awkward.email. It's actually a website. And you can call or text 509-AWKWARD instead if you'd like to just skip all of that and do it from your phone. Also, if you'd like to check out some of our other shows, we've got a lot of great shows now, and we're having more every day, or, eventually. You can do that on awkwardhuman.com/podcast. Go check it out. We've got a lot of good stuff, and we hope that you'll be listening every week. Thanks.